Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1650B, and today's date is August 28th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Big Puzzle Piece Revealed, Follow the Dark Money. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about privacy and how the NSA, CIA corporations, they've infiltrated our devices and they're tracking and spying on us 24/7. We see that Apple, they have transferred Chinese users to a state-controlled data center. This should raise concerns about privacy. Google is being sued over misleading users about their location tracking devices, where even if it's off, they are still tracking you. We know that WikiLeaks, they dumped the documentation for Vault 7, and we know that the CIA has created back doors where they can take control of your camera, your microphone, and your entire system. Now, no one's going to come out and help you become private. You have to do it yourself. It's up to each and every one of us. And we can do this by using something called a virtual private network. I use Virtual Shield. It allows you to transport yourself somewhere else in the world, and the trackers will not know your true location. Virtual Shield by far is one of the best service in the world, and with their no log policy, it allows you complete anonymity. Let me show you how the VPN allows you to transport yourself to someplace else. So here I am on Google, and I'm just going to type in what is my IP address. And as you can see, I blurred out some of my IP address so you don't know where I am. Now all I'm going to do is go to the VPN Virtual Shield, connect it, and go back to Google, and I'm going to type in what is my IP address once again. And it will show you that my IP address has just changed. It just transported me to someplace else, and they think I'm in a different location. Now, this month, Virtual Shield will be giving away 1 year free subscription to their flagship product, IdentiSafe, for customers who choose to purchase an annual membership to their VPN. What is IdentiSafe? It allows you to take back control by shutting down access to your microphone, your camera on your Windows computer. So check out the link below that will bring you over to Virtual Shield, because remember, we all have the right to remain private. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we've been talking about how Trump has been foreshadowing the upcoming events, letting everyone know about the Uranium One, the Clinton emails, Bruce Orr, the Steele dossier, the spying, the corruption, and all this is being done on purpose because he needs to get the information out there. If we go back in time, Q was posting stuff about Google, Facebook, Twitter, and they were talking about an Internet Bill of Rights, regulating these type of organizations, social media. And I wanted to go back to post 1834 because this relates to what is going on right now. Going back to 1834, this is March 3rd, 2018. Q put up Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, the link between the intelligence agencies and these social media platforms. Post 839. Do you trust the mainstream media? Do you trust Facebook? Do you trust Google? Do you trust YouTube? Do you trust Twitter? Narrative censorship? Do not blindly believe fake. They want you divided. Together you are strong. Apart you are weak. Post 1044. Q was talking about, and this was on April 6, 2018, Q was talking about how these social media platforms, they might be shut down for one reason or another. And Q was talking about pics will surface of Hussein holding an AK-47 in tribal attire, one of many net shutdown, and put up fake pic push by mainstream media. Videos back up. Google will kill it. YouTube kill it. Facebook kill it. Twitter kill it, Yahoo, kill it, Bing, and the rest. Everything will be paused and nothing will be shown. Now, think about what is happening today. And Q has mentioned these things quite a while ago. Trump is out there. And first they started with Facebook. How Facebook was selling your information, using your information, and how these corporations spy on you, track you all the time. If we look at what Trump is doing today, he's accusing Google of rigging search results against him. Now, he tweeted this morning, and his first tweet was, Google search results for Trump news shows only the viewing reporting of fake news media. In other words, they have rigged for me and others, so that almost all stories and news is bad. Fake CNN is prominent. Republic, conservative, and fair media is shut out. Illegal, 96% of results on Trump news are from national left-wing media. Very dangerous. Google and others are suppressing voices of conservative and hiding information and news that is good. They are controlling what we can and cannot see. This is a very serious situation, and it will be addressed. Social media giants are silencing millions of people. Can't do this even if it means we must continue to hear fake news like CNN, whose ratings have suffered gravely. People have to figure out what is real and what is not without censorship. Now, if you go to Google and you type in Trump news or anything like that, you know automatically what's going to come up. It's going to be CNN, New York Times, NPR, Vox, MSNBC, Washington Post, all those other news organizations. And remember, all these news organizations are controlled by, I believe, 6 corporations. That's it. Now, Representative Jim Jordan, he's out there saying 100 senators and 435 reps, only 4 get shadow banned. Gates, Meadows, Nunes, and Jordan. Twitter says just a glitch in their algorithm. Really? Well, he just showed them that this is kind of odd that certain individuals are being banned. Other individuals, like on YouTube, they're being taken down. And Google only shows certain searches. Well, Google decided to respond to Trump, and they claim that the company does not bias its results toward any political ideology, that search is not used to set a political agenda. Google also hedged by saying that it periodically issues hundreds of improvements to our algorithms to ensure they surface high-quality content in response to users' queries. And it was unclear if Google considers only CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, New York Times, etc. websites as highly quality content. Now, this goes back to fake news. Remember, when these fact checkers are fact checking, what are they fact checking against? What do they deem reputable? Now, if there are a few number of corporations that are controlling all the media outlets, they're going to say these are the reputable media outlets, and everything else is fake, phony, and false. And that's why our algorithms are tuned to look at these different media outlets. But what happens if they're reporting fake news? I mean, CNN, they've been reporting on Russian collusion. And Project Veritas went in there and they uncovered that most of the individuals within CNN and others said it was a nothing burger. They had absolutely nothing. They said that Trump was never spied on. And now the truth is coming out that Trump was spied on. CNN reported that Cohen has all this information and actually named Trump knowing about the Russian meeting. And Lanny Davis came out and said, yeah, that's not true at all. So to add to all of this, Facebook, Google, and Twitter did the following. They filed a legal brief on Monday contending that the internet service providers, ISPs, such as Comcast or Verizon, should not be able to censor content while they reserve the right to censor content themselves. Think about this for a second. So they filed a legal brief saying that Comcast and Verizon should not be able to censor content, but Facebook, Google, Twitter, and the rest, they are censoring content. Remember, whenever they push a law like the Patriot Act or the Affordable Care Act, it's always the opposite. Net neutrality is the opposite. Facebook, Google, Twitter, they wrote this law. It doesn't apply to them. It only applies to the ISP providers. They can't censor, but Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they can censor. So think about this for a second. Now, if we're going to have something where it's completely net neutral, it has to apply to every single company. And remember, going back in time, that the judge has ruled that Trump cannot block users on Twitter because it's a public forum. So we can already see that they're going to use that later on. Now, Q came out and posted 1946. Defend Google at all cost, and gave some samples of links. Donald Trump, Google conspiracy theory, and these are all links from the, of course, mainstream media, where they're saying that, Google denies Donald Trump claims, and they continue on with this. Q went on to say, Google to be regulated. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, couple of dots, question mark. These people are stupid. Censorship with no consequences. How do you set a trap? Open the door, and we shall always walk through and take control. Now, we can see that they're making their move to regulate, or maybe have the Internet Bill of Rights, to keep all these companies on an even playing field so they can't censor, take down what they don't like, so the truth can come out. The people, they're smart enough. They can make their own decisions. Everyone has the right to see all the information. There is no need to censor and point people towards a certain narrative. Now, the only reason you would want to do that is because you're afraid of the truth. And remember, the truth will always win. And that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of the truth. This is why in the past we had book burnings. This is why we had leaders blocking everything so their population couldn't see it. This is what happens when you get a leadership that is afraid of the truth. Now, Macron was out there, and it looks like big things are about to happen, because he tweeted the following: "Those who believed in the advent of globalized people were deeply mistaken. All over the world, the profound identity of the peoples has returned, and that's a good thing at the bottom." So he's already signaling that everything that he tried to do is now failing. And people are starting to realize this, and a lot of people are starting to wake up here. Let's move on to post 1933. SarahCarter.com put up a article, "Whistleblower exposes key player in FBI Russian probe. It was all a setup." Q continues, "Big puzzle piece. Who is systematically arranging the leaks to select individuals? Why is this important? Brackets to drop prior to Broussard testimony." So this article is basically about Stephen Halper and the whole timeline, documenting his role in manufacturing the whole Russian collusion narrative. Now, if you'd like to read that article, you can go and read it. I'll just read a couple parts of this article, but if you want to read the whole thing, you can come to the X22Report.com site, click on the report link, and scroll to the middle of the page, and you will see the link there where it says "Whistleblower exposes key player in FBI Russian probe." The article starts off with, "Adam Lovinger, a former Defense Department analyst, never expected that what he stumbled on during his final months at the Pentagon would expose an integral player in the FBI's handling of President Trump's campaign and alleged Russia collusion. Lovinger, a whistleblower, is now battling to save his career. The Pentagon suspended his top-secret security clearance on May 1st, 2017, when he exposed through an internal review that Stephen Halper, who was then a Cambridge professor, had received roughly $1 million in taxpayer-funded money to write Defense Department foreign policy reports. Lovinger also raised concerns about Halper's role in conducting what appeared to be diplomatic meetings with foreigners on behalf of the U.S. government because his role as a contractor forbids him from doing so, according to U.S. federal law. Halper's ties to Russia officials raised serious questions. Halper has had a long career and worked in government with several GOP administrations. At 73, the elusive professor spent a career developing top-level government connections, not just through academia, but also through his work with members of the intelligence apparatus. Those contacts and the information Halper collected along the way would eventually, through apparent circumstances, become utilized by the FBI against the Trump campaign. but it was during his time hosting the Cambridge Intelligence Seminar at the University of Cambridge where Halper shifted from professor and former government consultant to FBI informant on the Trump campaign. And you can read the rest of this, and this is the big piece to the puzzle because this brings in Halper, and you can see that Q is pointing this out. Now, let's move on to post 1934, August 27th. Q says, focus here. Raise troubling questions about Halper, who was believed to have worked with the CIA and part of the matrix of players in the Bureau's Crossfire Hurricane investigation into Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Halper, who assisted the FBI in the Russian investigation. It appears to also have significant ties to the Russian government, as well as sources connected directly to the President Putin. And this is from Sarah Carter's article. Q says, define projection. D's scream when POTUS meets with Putin. D's demand to hold hearings with the interpreter used during the private POTUS-Putin meeting. D's demand all meetings with Putin be canceled. If POTUS knows everything, control over what orgs are central to operational success. 1. Department of Justice, 2. FBI, 3. NSA, 4. U.S. military, 5. State, 6. F_assets. Ask yourself, if above are central to operational success, who would you pick to lead such orgs? Hillary Rodham Clinton, election loss equals Clinton Foundation inflow stop. Clinton Foundation inflow stop equals No Name Institute inflow ramp. Compare donors. Define dark money in all caps. Direct correlation. Brackets and in bold. He did not depart on his own terms. Think Flynn. Brackets bold 30. Q says exactly. Brackets bold 30. Exactly in 30 days. So McCain tried to keep the dark money flowing when the Clinton Foundation was cut off. Now, an Annan definitely lands on the dead side of the argument, but the important takeaway is the timeline. So the Annan said exactly 30. So No Name actually died on Friday, probably via firing squad down at Camp Delta, and the procession from his stronghold was probably cover for the removal of whatever the hell was needed to go after any of his remaining cohorts for the increase in victims being smuggled via his foundation. Now, Q also said that Flynn in 30. Now, Q originally said Flynn would be done in 30 days, way back in April 27th. And then May 27th, which is 30 days later, came and went. And nothing. No explanation. But Q did say that sometimes the timetables will shift, and maybe it had to be shifted for a particular reason. But what's very interesting is that Flynn keeps strategically changing his Twitter headers as subtle signals to all of us. He's gone through a series of waves, watch the water, and the most recent is hoo-ah. So we see that he continually changes, and this latest one is telling us that something good just happened. Let's move on to post-1935. Now, Q put up everything from post-1934, and below that says, think for yourself, research for yourself, trust yourself. Clickbait options are designed to attract reader to subscribe and or follow or shape a pre-designed narrative. Follow the facts, sheep no more, Q. It's pretty much self-explanatory. Post-1936. Q puts up all caps witch hunt. No deals Q. Reminder to the deep state. McCain couldn't weasel his way out, and now we're coming for you. Post-1937. Mark Meadows tweets, we've learned new information suggesting our suspicions are true. FBI, Department of Justice, have previously leaked info to the press and then used those same press stories as a separate source to justify FISAs. Unreal. Tomorrow's Bruce Orr interview is even more critical. Did he ever do this? And underneath it says, unreal. Tomorrow's Bruce Orr interview is even more critical. Did he ever do this? So when we look at this, we need to look at what Meadows is saying here. So we've known that Steele seeded Isakov with information from his dubious dossier, and that the FBI then used both Steele's dossier and Isakov's Steele-inspired article to game the FISA system. Representative Mark Meadows now says that the FBI Department of Justice directly leaked information to the press, which they then used for the same type of FISA scheme. Now, think about this for a second. When we talk about fake news, when we talk about who's feeding the mainstream media news stories, well, the FBI just did everything that we talked about all along, where they're feeding them fake news, they're reporting on it, and then the FBI is using the fake news they gave them to get something done. So strong evidence was discovered in January suggesting that the former FBI employee Lisa Page leaked privileged information to Devlin Barrett, formerly of the Wall Street Journal and now with the Washington Post. Whether any Barrett's reporting was subsequently used to obtain a FISA warrant is unknown right now. Meanwhile, Representative Meadows' Monday night tweet comes hours before twice-demoted Department of Justice employee Bruce Orr is set to give closed-door testimony to the House Oversight Committee. Why is it closed door? It'd be better if it was open and the public could see this, but I think they want to hear what this individual has to say and how damaging this is going to be. I think it should be completely transparent at this point, but I don't believe they're ready to let all of this out. They're dripping it out because I think if this all came out right now, people would not be able to handle it. Remember, Orr was caught lying about his involvement with the opposition research firm Fusion GBS co-founder Glenn Simpson, who employed Steele. Orr's CIA-linked wife, Nellie, was also employed by Fusion as part of the firm's anti-Trump efforts and had ongoing communications with ex-UK spy Christopher Steele as well. Now, remember, Nellie Orr, she got her, ham radio license. And we have to think, why did she do this? And we mentioned this before. Was she trying to evade the Rogers-led NSA detecting her participation in compiling the Russian-sourced Steele dossier? Well, if she was, it didn't work. And we see at this point that all the evidence now is coming out and people are starting to hear this. Not everyone, but it's all starting to leak out now. And I think what they're doing is they're building this gigantic narrative, which they're dripping out right now. But I think this is all going to come out all at once. They're preparing the country for this. This is why Trump has been foreshadowing what is about to happen here. So we're going to move on to post 1938. And Q put up Bruce Orr to UK to Australia, Australia to UK to Bruce Orr, Bruce Orr to Alexander Downer, 5i, Fake News Blast, Narrative Shift, NEC, Sample, and put up all these different links from all the different mainstream media outlets saying Tony Blair, Fire and Fury, Michael Wolff calls claims he warned Trump of UK spying, complete fabrication. Basically, all these articles out there saying that, Tony Blair never warned Trump. It's completely fake, phony, and false. Q continues with Bruce Orr unlocks UK F_Intel 5i. UK/F Intel unlocks REQ. REQ equals think highest levels. And then that's in bold with brackets, focus 2 with brackets, and it says, this is the case with Halper, who is now proven to be a spy, possibly with Australian Ambassador Alexander Downer, who her husband met with in London. Put up the article, whistleblower exposes key player in FBI Russian probe. It was all a setup. This came from Sarah Carter once again. So Bruce Orr, closed door necessary. Red-handed comms revealed to encourage truthful testimony. Bracket 19 in bold, phone calls today. DC, UK, Australia, they are in panic. Who, all caps, bold in brackets, are the firewalls, all caps. What will the fake news push tomorrow? Now, Q gives us the real flowchart of information here, and then shows us the media's narrative shifting tactic. And they're talking, what's happening here, they're talking about Blair is denying telling Trump UK may have spied on him. They're already getting prepared for this. So Bruce Orr leads back to Hillary Rodham Clinton and Obama. He did what he did at their request. And the firewalls they talked about, well, and Anon has a very interesting take on this. British spies steal to Orr, at least our firewalls still in place. So firewalls are decision makers in Five Eye intel countries, primarily UK countries like Australia, Tumble, Theresa May, UK, New Zealand, buddy president of Hillary, Jacinda Ardern, may also include the directors of the Five Eye spy agencies. The firewalls are foreign press intel directors, agents cooperating with the U.S., Hillary and Obama, FBI, Department of Justice coup against President Trump. So it makes a lot of sense when you think of it in these terms. Now, I wonder if the 19, which is in brackets, are the same 19Q listed all the way back in Post 541 on January 18, 2018. And Q said, what 19 people are currently meeting in a safe room heavily guarded? And this kind of makes sense that we're talking about the same exact people. Let's move on to Post 1939. Now, Q just puts everything from 1938 back up in 1939. And down below, we have Flynn, who is hoo-ah. Once again, all this information is about to come out. So there are no deals. No one's escaping this. And it looks like this is another hint at tribunals for those 19. Now, the Daily Caller put out an article today, and it was China hacked Clinton's private email server. They went on to say, a Chinese-owned firm with operations in Washington hacked Hillary Clinton's private server throughout her term as Secretary of State and obtained nearly all her emails. Now, the server really didn't have to be hacked because there was no security on it. So all they had to do is log in. It was that easy. Now, it went on to say that the Chinese firm obtained Clinton's emails in real time as she sent and received communications and documents through her personal server. The Chinese wrote code that was embedded in the server, which was kept in Clinton's residence in upstate New York. The code generated an instant courtesy copy for nearly all her emails and forwarded them to Chinese companies, according to the sources. Now, remember, and we reported on this, remember back on July 12th, the House Committee on the Judiciary hearing, Representative Louis Gohmert disclosed that the Intelligence Community Inspector General found that virtually all of Clinton's emails from her homebrew server were funneled to a foreign entity. And at that time, he said this was not Russia. And Trump has been tweeting out there, why don't we take a look at China, foreshadowing what is coming. So this all brings us to Strzok. He was informed that data was going to a foreign entity when he was in his FBI position while Obama was president. While Strzok was investigating Clinton's email server, he completely ignored the fact that most of Clinton's emails were sent to a foreign entity. Let's look at the IG report. The Intelligence Community Inspector General found an anomaly on Hillary Clinton's emails going through their private server. And when they had done the forensic analysis, they found that her emails, every single one except 4, over 30,000, were going to an address that was not on the distribution list. So once again, they're putting all the pieces together, building a narrative, and putting it out into the public domain. This is being done on purpose. They're getting ready to wake up America. And we need to remember, everything that we're watching right now was planned a long time ago. This is not something they just started right now. I mean, think about it for a second. Trump put certain individuals into certain positions where civilians are normally in these positions. Marine generals serving in positions normally held by civilians. General Mattis, General Kelly, Admiral Rogers. Rogers warned Trump he was being surveilled at Trump Tower. This is a military operation, and we can see that they have all the military intel. I want to go back to post 894. This is back in March 9th of 2018. Q put up, and there's a picture where Trump is pointing towards Obama, and under it, it's a meme, and under it, it says, "When I'm done, it'll be like you were never even here." Now, think about it. Yesterday, we talked about annulment, because they want to annul Trump's presidency. And we brought up the idea, if these presidents that were in position, like Obama, they lied about their birth certificate, they lied about where they really were, where they came from, and we annul the presidency, all the laws, the executive orders, everything that he's done over the many years, is it all removed? And what we're seeing and what we're listening to and what we're observing is that they're mirroring what is going to happen here. Now, in this post, it has a picture of the Punisher, and Q at the bottom says, "When we're done, he'll claim Kenyan citizenship as a way to escape." Now, what's very interesting is that Trump and First Lady have met the President of Kenya and the First Lady of Kenya, and they're at the White House. So we can see that a lot of things are happening all at once, and we see that the plan is moving forward. Remember, what we're seeing is foreshadowing and mirroring of what is about to come. Now, the UN is calling for an impartial investigation in Yemen, and they want to investigate what is going on there because there's a lot of civilians dying. We've been reporting on this for a very long time. We know that the United States, the deep state, I should say, was working with Saudi Arabia to go into Yemen. Now, remember, Yemen never attacked Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia just started a war with Yemen because the people there didn't want the puppet regime in position, in power in their country, and they wanted their country back. But of course, the deep state says, listen, if you try to get rid of our puppet leader, the people must pay. And this is why they're destroying the infrastructure. This is why they're attacking the civilians. Now, since this came out that there's going to be an investigation, the Pentagon right now is considering withdrawing support to Saudis due to civilian death toll in Yemen. So it looks like the U.S. is going to be pulling out of this because this is a complete and utter disaster, and we should have never been involved in this whatsoever. If the people want a different leader in their country, they should be allowed to have a different leader in their country. Let's move on to post 1942. Q put up, "Watch Iran. Something incredible is about to happen. Hassan Rouhani. The good people of Iran have the power. Fight for your freedom. Q." Now, in Iran, there was a parliamentary meeting, and Iran's parliament voted to reject Hassan Rouhani's explanation for economic hardship after a dramatic grilling on live TV. The vote in parliament came 2 days after lawmakers sacked the Minister of Economy and Finance and weeks after they sacked the labor minister, blaming them for the collapse of their currency and the surging inflation. Now, a close ally of Khamenei issues a death threat against Rouhani, saying that he's committed treason. Rouhani has committed treason. And what Q is saying is that we need to watch Iran right now. Things are changing very, very quickly. Now, I wanted to talk about what is happening in Syria. We're seeing Russian vessels, they're moving into position. Russia is warning of a false flag, and we can see that things are really heating up in this area in Idlib, which is the last stronghold of the deep state paid mercenary army and factions of the deep state. And people are saying, well, why does the U.S. have to fire missiles into Syria again to destroy the deep state? Now, the U.S. might fire missiles, might not fire missiles. It all depends on how this goes. It looks like they're setting something up here. But the question is, why don't they just tell Syria or Russia, go ahead and go in there and remove the deep state? Well, think about it. The deep state and the mainstream media would report that Syria and Russia are attacking U.S. soldiers. And this needs to be rectified somehow, some way. And I don't think Trump and the Patriots want to get involved in that. So if there is a false flag and they're saying that Assad used chemical weapons, this is the cover story, it makes more sense for the U.S. to fire missiles in this area, because the mainstream media, what are they going to say? The U.S. decided to fire at the deep state? The U.S. decided to go after the paid mercenary armies? No. I mean, that argument would be ridiculous. This is why, most likely, they're going to play it out in this way. This way, the U.S. has to take out certain deep state infrastructure locations, paid mercenary locations, and this way the mainstream media, they have no choice but to stay silent on this. The intelligence agencies, they can't tell them anything. What are they going to say? They destroyed our infrastructure? And this is most likely why this has to play out in this fashion. And we can see that this whole entire operation is building right now. Maybe they'll find another way around this, but it looks like they're heading in this direction. This is not the start of World War III. This is to get rid of the last remnants of the Islamic State, the rebels, their infrastructure, and whatever else they have in this location. Once this is done, we're going to see a lot change. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.